right, guys, welcome to your Lightworker Radio Energy Report. I'm your host, Candace Johnson. Boy, today we're talking about Chiron. It's just such a good report. Death, the new moon in Sagittarius, all of it wraps up so beautifully. Um, so you know where we're going to go first. If you've been sticking with us for a while, we got to go straight to the theme of the week. Okay. So our theme of this week has a mantra attached to it. It's a very emotional week coming up, and I'm like feeling the energy come into me as I began to talk about it. Uh hey girl, hey. I my For some reason I can't sign into this chat right now, and like Streamlabs is acting funny, but what's up? We're talking about the new moon in Sagittarius and Chiron and death. So, theme of the week. Mantra: I forgive death and embrace detachment. The goal is to lay down your expectations. It won't get us there. And this theme is heavy, and it's going to have a lot to do with death. And I have my divining rods here somewhere. That's what I'm looking around for, because we're talking to death. Death's got a lot to say, and it ties in with the wounds that we need to release as we're coming up on some sort of threshold. So today I went outside and the sky was like electric, and you notice that there are ships going by. There's something going on. It feels potent, and it feels important. So where we need to get to, and I think it's going to be 3 months of this winter season, which is aligning us with the natural rhythm of nature. So I want you to think of us having slowly been acclimating to the weather around us. And it almost feels like the goal is to completely release the calendar, okay? And utilizing seasons and change in the weather, the patterns, as we go forth on what to do. So as I say winter, I don't know if winter ends with winter used to end, and I don't know if winter begins when winter used to begin. I think it's a state of being in all of us, and it's a necessary filtering device that has been calling to us that at some point could come to an end. I'm going to say that out loud. But in the meantime, we have to be able to pull all the information from why we even have winter. What is the point of winter? Why winter is even in our experience. I'm going to sign in so I can record the podcast at the same time. So that is where we're going. Before we get there, quick 3 things you accomplished this week that you're proud of. Just think of them, write them down. The theme last week was surrendering. And definitely kept it at the top of my head all week, but it took me until probably yesterday to really get it, or the day before that. But the sensations that were coming towards me were like ridiculous. And seeing where that loop and that pattern keeps repeating, and that I'm meant to make a choice, that was big for me last week. I also did a pop-up that went really well. I got to talk to a lot of people, and I prepped for and really confirmed my January 2026 astrology report in Detroit. So I feel like I've accomplished some things. This week's my challenges. What are your challenges for the week? The ones that you can't do anything about, you're going to give to source. The ones that you can do something about. I think my biggest challenge this week is going to be pushing through to holiday. Um, and I don't even mean with like my business, but just like I feel like I'm supposed to rest at some point, and I don't think I'm there yet, but I have more work to do on the field. So it's like figuring out what still needs to be done. And then when do I put my pen down and take a minute? And that's kind of what's been on my mind a lot lately. So let's get into this report. We've got a lot to cover. First thing I want to go over is like where the major planets are. They have not moved since last week. This information has not changed unless it was Venus and Mars. So you got to remember that transformation and death, Pluto, the one at the top on the left, if you're watching this on screen, all about limitations and justice and us being stuck in this space where we can see where we're not able to reach out and get as far as we like. And then where does justice come into that? Where's the fairness? Where's the place where we might be keeping ourselves stuck? Uranus is at Neptune, sorry, is at constriction versus universal love. We're at the precipice of it rebirthing into Aries, and it's in the end of its Pisces phase. It's going through its own death. Our dreams are dying and becoming something new. what we expected and what we thought and how we thought, all of that stuff is shifting majorly as this planet traverses into Aries. And that won't happen until March, but that's where we are now, trying to get rid of what wasn't necessary, what portions of the story of the world clumped onto our dreams that aren't taking us there. It's keeping us stuck. Uranus is asking us to change where we feel mediocre, Jesus Christ, mediocre versus where we feel exquisite. Okay. And it's all about like trying to find the authentic voice inside of you where you can feel at ease and do what you do. And what is getting in the way of this? I'm going to open this window because it's hot in here. I'm upstairs. What's getting in the way of that? Okay, and I kept the Mars in here, even though that's changed. I didn't mean to keep it, but it's obscurity versus light was where we were before. We're not covering that this week, but let's look at Saturn. Turbulence versus compassion. You're going to keep coming up against these loops, and they're getting tighter. So they're going to happen faster and quicker as we come through this change, because it's like you got to get these patterns adjusted. Okay. So you're going to feel that turbulence until we turn towards compassion. And then Jupiter, where are we growing? What is actually, because Jupiter is in retrograde, what is we primarily like micro focusing on? And it's like intellect trying to like out talk or outwit someone versus where you are just impeccable because you're a conscious being of light and you deserve to shine, right? And this is where these major planets are keeping their theme, right? But there's some real dances happening in the sky right now that we got to talk about. So number one, turbulence and mediocrity versus compassion and exquisiteness, right? What we might be feeling is squaring up with the sun and the moon and Venus. Okay. And I'm going to talk about these planets in a minute. It's going to rock your world. But in the meantime, I want you to think about it having a difficult conversation. And in this difficult conversation, it's trying to shake you to show you something. All right. And what it's showing you is going to ask you to throw it into the portal on this new moon. Next up, I want you to know that Chiron, which we're also going to be heavily discussing because it just fits so well this week, squaring up with that Jupiter. Where are you? This wound. Ooh, and when I get into what the wound is, this wound is showing up in how you communicate, in how you think about things, in your expectations, in the way that you move when you think that you have to move like that based on the story from Earth. Okay. And then on the other side of the coin, we've got a trine, which is like really good. And Chiron, I can't move my little video screen here, but Chiron is under there. Chiron is under that triangle, trining the sun and the moon and Venus. So there's harmony. The sun and the moon are meeting. There's this portal and potential spot opening up for us. And it's all about really clearing out this wound. Okay. Now, as I discuss this with you, I want you to remember that astrology is a cycle, right? This stuff is always moving. It ain't ever gonna stop moving. But there's something really important about this cycle because we are lining up with time. I'm gonna go back to that. It's a collective cycle. All of us are going to be going through this. All right. And when I say all of us, it's because it's trying to adjust this timeline. And to do so, we have to meet at the gate of these experiences so that I'm just move my camera back. Hold on, hide it there. So that we can die. That's what we're talking about is death. Okay. It's time to die. It's letting go of living and dying is where Chiron is sitting in Aries. And so Aries, the great I am, right? Who am I? And it's like we have made that choice and we have built our foundation on the block of a block that is not solid, based on principles that no longer apply, based on lies that have been told to us. Okay. So this idea of expectations, and we've got a lot to cover here. This is heavy because I'm always in this, and I think maybe it's just heavy for me. I don't know. But what I expect versus what I receive are not lining up exactly like I want all the time. Exactly. And in that process, I am opening up a storyline that is not serving me based on these expectations. And so there is this difference between desire and expectation, and we'll get to that. But in the meantime, really what an expectation is one, it's a fear of failure, and two, it's a stronghold on an attachment, either through grasping it or pretending it's not there. Okay. Either way, you're connected to it. And in reality, it is based on our fear of death. Now, I've had a strange year with death. In this year, I've lost a lot of animals, right? And I have a lot of friends lose people. And I deal with human death. Even I deal with death differently than I deal with suffering. And that is where the expectation is throwing me off because to me, when I experience or I witness suffering, I think I define it as absolutely wrong. And it is based on a fear and a fight with death. How I kind of came to this realization was like, especially when my ducks were like murdered one night, right? And like one of them was terribly injured and you knew she wasn't going to make it, but she wasn't gone yet. And I had to like nurse her all week and like literally opening a portal to death to allow her to be taken. But instead of nursing her from this place of allowing whatever the fates would be to be and just like comforting her through that, my expectations of the scenario clouded my vision of even my care. And I'm starting to realize this even as I speak it. And this time that I spent with these animals, this energy became so familiar. And I thought that the energy was, what did I think it was? I thought that the energy was like the animal dying. Like I was connected to the animal and I could feel the animal dying. And it took me to go through it a couple of times to realize, oh no, that's death is in the room. And then I went through this entire series of periods. I'm going to see if I can take this down to show you where I've been channeling and painting. And like, I have all of these paintings. And I don't know if you can see this one, but there's a little girl here. All right. And this is kind of what opened me up to this idea even more. Like, this download came in because in this lifetime, I lost that child and I killed myself. And I can tell you that story another day. But from that moment on, me and death been squaring up, baby. Okay, we ain't cool. For real. Through lifetimes, I realized this. And finally, I surrendered to this idea of what death was. And then in that, I got the opening to what death is. So, death is literally like the portal opener. He don't make the date, we do. It's in our contracts. Everything that's coming and going from this plane. When you get this across your head, it's really hard to process from an earth point of view. But everything in this plane to come and go, there's something that's got to let you out, almost like so. He is like the portal opener. And then when you realize that the portal that he's opening is for more than just death, it's for birth, it's for all aspects of creation. It's for all timeline jumps. Anytime something has to traverse from here to there dimensionally, something's got to open the portal. And we have been squaring up with this energy because we heard that it was bad to die. When you actually, if you've been in this practice for long enough, you know what it is to die. And so it isn't the death that bothers us because most of us in the spiritual community recognize it is a new state of being that entity continues to exist on. It is that middle effing space between suffering that really boils my blood. I think that is the hardest part for me personally. And that is where I've been grappling with death. Now, in grappling with death and trying to consider suffering from a new perspective, this is where I got. Okay, so you die every day. That's pretty much where they were like, just calm down. Okay, so look, these are your cells. Every single day, a cell on your body. I don't know. Oh, this is not going to play unless I'm over here. A cell on your body has to die every 7 years. Every single cell on your body at this point has completely died and has become anew, and it's like a portal opening on its own. It's your Saturn, like your Saturn cycles. Okay, And in those moments, you die and you come back to life. All right. This is what happens. Now, here's the whoop. Ooh, we're doing that collectively with Earth. All right. So all of us are dying in this way towards Earth. Now, if you considered yourself having been dying the whole time you were dead or alive, I don't I don't want to say this in this weird way, but I kind of want to say this. Okay. So if you think of death from an elemental perspective, okay? Light is leaving your cells. Now, remember your cells are coming and going constantly for 7 years. Every single organ on your body, every single portion of your body continuously comes and goes. But it's all happening simultaneously, right? So if you really think about it, you're always dying. It's the release of the voltage of a cell, and a new cell takes its place, and the release of a voltage of a cell, and a new cell takes its place. And what we're going to be going through is a release of a larger voltage of cells collectively, okay? Because there's a purging happening on the earth. And the only way to release these cells and purge is to come up with the threshold of death, because you got a quantum jump to do. So this energy is familiar and it don't feel good based on collective years of trauma. And in reality, what we should be doing right now and what we all need to be doing is forgetting death. Could you imagine being the administrator of the portal and what that entity or consciousness has to exist like to get us out of here? Some of us don't even know we did when we died. Some of us might think it's the devil or hell because they take their job very seriously. They are in a role. Like it doesn't look pretty. Okay. Every angel don't look like a fairy or a cherub, right? It's a very serious role. And I'm even getting that, like, everybody don't, you don't, that person, that entity has not been in that role. It's a job. Okay. It's a task. Someone takes it, someone else takes it, but it's an energy of openness and vulnerability and rawness. And like, I've been watching Stranger Things again, and like the portal is all raw. It reminds me a little bit, it's very vaginal, right? And we think of it as this transition as being like just a showering in light, but it's very much like birth, and it's raw and it's ripping out and it's pulling things out, and it's saying you can't get past this boundary with this because this can't come with you. So let it go so you can go through, or stay here. And I keep getting this vision of being at the club because that's who I am. Okay. So for a minute, I'll come back to that. But like this, I'm at the outside, like having a cigarette, waiting to go into the club, knowing I gotta go in there, I gotta check my pockets, drop what I can't take inside. That's where we are. Okay. Now, in this moment, the shit is turned on purpose. Okay. There's turbulence on the field. And you look at this ocean right here, and this is the point of releasing the expectation, because with the expectation, what you end up doing is trying to find something to hold on to. You don't expect to die, or maybe you expect to die and you take yourself all the way under the water. But what if you release that? And how would you get to this water if you could live or you could die? Right? What would you do in this moment? And it's like, it's very much, this has to do with about staying in the present and what the future means and what the past means. And that's what we have to talk about, because expectations automatically push you to the future. It automatically future casts and sets you in that direction, because the future literally means like what you write and what you say and what you expect to be. Okay. And when you think about it from that perspective, we're going to go over the etymology of this. When you think about it from that perspective, when we are expecting, we are constantly future casting and minutely focusing on one sample, or looking for one clue when we've got an entire thing that we're supposed to be paying attention to. And it moves us from the present, where we can be in all of it as the observer, into a space where we are minutely focused on this one thing going exactly like this, and we are not able to get past this. Okay. So when we are looking at it like this and we can't see the other examples, this can look like failure. This can look like we did it wrong. This can look like all kinds of things, because we're not looking at the other examples. When we put expectations on something, we define it and bind it into a form when it's bigger than that. Okay. So think about the word future. It's about to be. going to be, right? And then expectation is to look out for. So you're looking out for something to be exactly as you defined it, and it don't work like that. And I don't know why it don't work like that, but damn it, it don't. And it's one level where you have control, but it's not the control you think you have. The only sense of control you have is going to be, okay. So let's go over this. In the realm of energy, there is mass attached to ideas. And some ideas have more mass than other ideas. Okay. So, expectation, what you expect to happen, literally runs the mainframe. It's the highest form of potential energy you send out to the field. Under that, the next one is receiving, oddly enough. Opening up yourself to reception is the second highest form of energy. It actually sucks everything in, it pulls everything for you. I've been doing this practice every morning where I open myself up to receive because I know I lock myself in, right? And that's the only way things can flow through, right? The will to give is even less powerful than the will to receive, which is just crazy to think about. And I think it has something to do with this idea that we give, we think there's an ego attached to it. Okay. What you owe, there are debts in the conscious world. This idea that, there are debts is like less powerful than what you give though. And then what you currently have, it's like lowest on the list. It doesn't mean anything. You can always get up to like expect something different and like get there if you have the right expectation. But I think there's something here. And then desire is the smallest thing because it doesn't belong to us. When we feel desire, in reality, something is attracting us. And because we hold that desire and we define it, we go through what we have, what we owe, what we gonna give, what we receive, and our expectation line. This whole thing's all effed up. All right. And this is where I'm going. Okay. So we have got to let go of our expectations. And I thought, well, shit, how the hell are we going to do that? That sounds tough. I know what I'm expecting, and I don't want to let it go. All right. So it's the strength of our collective expectations that is making this shit as fucked up as it is good. All right. We don't expect the government to work, and it don't. We don't expect them to manage our food, and they can't. I'm not saying that we can turn our minds around and expect them to be able to do that, but because we've existed in a world where we've lost control of the storyline, our expectations are all over the place. Okay. So first thing you want to do is, and I'm doing this too, write down your goals and your major things in life. Okay. So your relationships, you can do them friendships and marriages or partnerships, children. Take your career or your mission, whatever you're doing to create on this earth, your lifestyle ideas that you have, and your abundance ideas that you have. Okay. Step 2 for each let me see if you can see step 2. Okay. So for each subject you choose, I want you to ask yourself, what do you expect to happen? All right. What are you seeking? What has soured? I says sword. I don't spell sour, but you get the point. What has soured you to an experience? So, like, what parts of this are sour to you? What parts are like, oh, I don't even like this? What has left you feeling disappointed, shamed, embarrassed, and like a failure? Because only when you put an expectation on it did you even have a place to measure yourself in that direction. All right. So it's going to be where you think you're doing it wrong, where you think you can't get it right is another way of saying it, and and then you need to sit with this energy for a bit, okay? Because there's this feeling, let's say, okay? So like there's these feelings that come up for us. I'm gonna just be real with you, okay? You go on Instagram, you do the damn work. You create the frames, you do the edits, you add the title, you write the caption. You SEO the shit out of it, maybe you hashtagged it. You did a really good video, it took you an hour. You did all the parts that Instagram told you to do, and you get 10 views, right? And you're like, hold up. That ain't what I'm doing over here. Okay, this is very personal. So I know what this feels like. And this is where I don't, if I expected X from this, I'm not even looking out for Y. I'm not even checking the measurements of who like clicked on my website, right? Like I'm looking for one form of validation that doesn't mean a damn thing. Okay. So we have to transfer this energy towards desire. We want to lower the threshold of the energetic boundary. Like we want to bring down the mass so we can better control it. This is what I got. So you need to take those same ideas, the same relationships, careers, lifestyle, abundance, and I want you to write down what your gut is telling you about what you hope the outcome to be. What do you desire from the situation? Okay. And I want you to go deep into your heart for this. This is going to be sitting in your heart chakra because this is where desire lives. And I think that we have confused desire with expectation. And we are allowed to have a hunger in our hearts for something to manifest, right? While simultaneously allowing it to unfold in the way that is best flowing with the current of the energy that we are currently in. And the only way to do that is to stop defining something. So you need to pull out the story that doesn't match with the current frame. I thought it was going to look like X, but it looks like Y. Okay. So what's happened is you've taken this desire and this imagination, and because of what it looked like in your heart, when you look out into the field and it automatically doesn't look like that, you're like, now hold up. That ain't it. So where are these two things not aligned? And that is when you have to come back to the present moment, because in a lot of ways you've got to really think about what the goal was in the first place. My goal was never to go viral on Instagram. My goal was to get customers to come to my site and purchase products. And when I think of it from that goal, the entire expectation can change. And when I think about how the expectation changes, and I can't control people, I can only go back to the desire and look at, well, what is my desire to serve? I got to look at it from another angle. But if I stay in this space where I might focus on the goal with this at this point, right? I'm not even thinking of the major goal because, like, what if it's not even on Instagram? Let's move to Pinterest. I'm like, where am I allowing this frustration to carry me? Am I fighting something for trying to conquer something? All of these are the questions that you need to align with, because on one level, if I were trying to, let's say, get more views to get more sales, there is a point where I have to continuously put out work, right? So it's like, it's not even that you have to release the thing. It's like just how we are coming at it. And then the way we're moving because we came at it this way. If I'm coming at it from this, I might be trying to follow trends instead of tell my audience about my products. And I'm not thinking about it right because my goal wasn't aligned with this expectation. Okay. So, what to do with the expectation? If it is simply a mechanism to allow you to recognize that the idea is not aligning with your actions, how would you feel about it? What if, because my expectations don't match with my desire, I only would know that if I was uncomfortable and knew that. And the only way I was going to know it wasn't matching was if it didn't match. And now I can make it match, right? Like, what if you knew that the water in this section was bound to be choppy at some point? I'm going to show this in a second. And you allow the water to be choppy. The natural ebb and flow of the water, instead of trying to grasp the water, the goal is to float. Okay. The goal is to float. And I'm going to talk about floating. Look at this lady. Don't she look like she at ease in her life? Don't she look like she floating? Oop, you can't even see her. There she is. Okay. Do you see her? Don't she look relaxed? Don't she look like she could be there all day? Now, this is what the water looks like. So, how do we become this in this? Okay, because this is what it looks like. It doesn't look like this. Okay, and we all know that right now. I want us all to be quite aware where the shit has hit the fan. All right. So the shit has hit the fan. How do we go from this to this? And this is where we come to the sun and the moon and where they're sitting at gate 20. And it's got to be at ease. I couldn't make this shit up. Okay. I'm pulling it together and it's just all pulling together. Being at ease. What does that mean, to be at ease? Okay. And the shadow of this is to be so self obsessed. You're either a narcissist where you make it only about you, or you are a pessimist where it can never be about you. You have to give it all over to everybody else. Well, there's a balance there. All right. The gift is naturalness. And then the siddhi is like be. There is an erasing of you in this state. Okay. So That's how we get to this. This is being. This is being in its fullest form. If you know how to look, I would not want to be in the what unless this is a pool. You wouldn't find my ass in the middle of the ocean floating. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm gonna tell you a story here because I remembered it. Hi. And I remembered it the other day. Oh God. So listen to this. I was listening to this woman talk about how like she has had brushes with death like for life. Okay. And she's met with this energy. And one time, I don't know where she was, but she had to run into the ocean and almost die. And she said she remembered it clearly, like something in her mind told her to like just float. Like, okay, so you're gonna die. But you don't have to be the killer of yourself. You don't put yourself in the bottom and drown yourself, and you don't have to be flying around here like this. Float, baby, float. And she says she felt like the ocean carried her to the shore. She could not swim. I'll never forget that. And she talked about how the consciousness of the ocean, if she was just still, she felt it and it carried her to the shore. And I will not stop thinking about that story because in a moment of stillness, I need you to ask your body what this feels like. Let's go into this. To feel like this is to have your nervous system completely calm, okay? It's like being at ease no matter what. And the only way you're gonna be there is if you let go of dying. You gotta, the only way to let go of dying is to know you die all the time. It's not some major event. And we'll talk about like, there's more to this, but I want you to think about that. And the only way we're going to get our bodies there because it's such unfamiliar territory for us because of the story of death is to ask the question. Okay? So you got to get yourself into a real moment of stillness, a forest, a bath, a meditation. You want to ask your body what does it feel like to flee? And then you want to surrender and to let go and you want to lean into that sensation. The more you do this in the quiet space where you are in more control of your faculties, you can then bring that in. That same energy will become more familiar to you and it'll be closer in your reality. When the shit hits the fan and you need to float, your body will now know how to do it. Okay. And you're going to train yourself and condition yourself there. How do you do that? All right. Now it's all about the freaking neurons. It's all in our minds. That's where the turbulence is. You've got to be able to put your mind somewhere other than like I keep seeing like trying to like be on a buoy or like a out floating, trying to hold on like oh I think of the Titanic with like Leonardo DiCaprio and what's her name and like she doesn't let him on the thing but like they're floating right and you got to be able to release all of it and when you think about floating it's like the way you breathe, how your back feel, your jaw isn't tight. Every time you tense a piece of your body, a portion of you will sink, right? So there is this complete release into the outside environment as if it is one with you. And what is required is an utmost level of trust, the top of the trust cycle. Okay, you got to be trusting, capital trust, to be able to do this. All right. So remember the neurons, it's all in our mind. So, honoring, let me just get rid of this so you can see this. Okay. Being is honoring the desire of more than just your mind, but all of you collectively as the presence, as the illuminating force. You were given a promise, a birthright of everlasting abundance. What we claim, when we claim this gift within, when we exist as if we treasure this gift in all aspects, it's like we know that we keep going on again and again and again, and that nothing is solid. Everything is movement. There is nothing to grab onto, meaning nothing is real in reality, meaning you don't have to hold on to attachments just as much as you don't have to hold on to desires. It's all going to move past you, and you get to be the steady presence while the whole screen moves. All right. We know somewhere inside of us that there is a promise to us based on the work that we have done. I think it's because we signed contracts and we're literally on a mission. Okay. But the only way we truly access it is if we step into it. We can't expect it. We have to be it. If you are acting like you are here with that promise, you are not acting the same as if you are acting like you expect that promise. When you act like you expect that promise, you're sitting over here like, well, when you're in it and you realize that it's a part of the promise, it feels different. And it's because the promise never left us. We stopped seeing the promise based on the lies of the world. The promise has always been inherent. It can't be something we go get. It can't be something we climb for. It can't be something we measure. It can't be it does remind you of labor. Exactly. You got to just This has been a big topic for me lately. I've been watching people like talk about portals and labor and like what that energy feels like, and it is like death. And like, you don't get to be in charge. You got to float. In all of these moments, what we're asking for is deep surrender. And when you get to the deep surrender, you understand that when we're going to go to this. Okay. So when you get to this deep surrender and you realize that you die every day, and in 7 years, you're a brand new person. And if you think about life force leaving in clusters, what's going to happen is more life force is like leaving out, but it's quickly replaced because we live in a vacuum. Everything has to be replaced with potential energy. A new light has to come in. Okay. But we get to mourn. There is this mourning that is necessary for this. And it doesn't look like this. You don't have to hang, like, I mean, this is not a black funeral. Okay. So if this was a black funeral, this man would be climbing on the casket, but it's not. So what's happening here is we get to mourn. Okay. And I want to talk about this for a second. Okay. So, homie, we just went through some real shit. And everybody needs a minute to stop and to release and to let go of the expectations of what we thought the world was going to be. And I think there is a moment of actual mourning where we recognize in full detail the passing of what has just happened, right? Where we collect ourselves from what we've been through. Okay. And in that mourning, I think it allows us to better shed for the next season. But if no one is going to collectively stop for a minute and see the shit that has been going on in our worlds, and like what we are facing, all of us, and like the kind of world we live in right now. And like, I'm not saying mourn it because you don't want it to go, but like, we had to go through it. And there needs to be some recognition of where we have traversed to find the kingdom within us, and what boundaries and barriers were placed in front of us, actively seeking to keep us away from it. Okay. And that to me is like really important right now. And then there's this idea that this light is coming in strong, and you are the light in the center, and what's around us are these false storylines right now. And because the light is getting very bright, those storylines are going to look very, very, very dark. They're going to be the scariest of the storylines. That's what happens when you get to the wall or the threshold. And when you get to the portal, and you can, again, let me show you just so you can see that. Just like, remember that you're the light. Your light helps move that darkness. Not your job to really, you're not here to fight the darkness. I thought we all were. We ain't here to buckle with nothing and tussle with nothing. We are here to reclaim our birthright. Okay. So think of the 3D. Look at this dirt on the left side, and this portal of death is that darkness we have to face, that we have to go through to get to the right side. And that is death. It's just an energy. It is conscious. It can move with you and talk with you, but like, it's just open up a hole for you. And when it opens up that hole, think of a black hole. Everything around is gonna look really bright, and that density of that dark hole is gonna look real dark. But you gotta walk through it. You gotta walk through it. You gotta walk through it. We all do. Okay. So again, this is why we got to forgive death, because if you notice the portal, you will be able to not be as afraid of it if you forgive death. Okay. And you got to embrace detachment and becoming more of the observer, right? And lay down your expectations. They are holding us back. Okay. And only when we lay down our expectations, what's actually going to surrender and like come up for us is like what the truth actually is. Because again, expectations hold you to a definition of something that's not necessarily the truth. And the only way we are going to know the truth of everything is from this place of observation, without all of our fears attached to it, completely hands free. All right. And when we do that, where can we get? That's where we're going. I've talked before about the 3 days of darkness, and I have a YouTube about that. I'm telling you, this shit about to be, I'm not going to say 3 months. It's going to be winter season. I think this is the collective 3 days of darkness. Okay. I'm telling you, just something telling me this. It's got a lot to do with Saturn, and it's got a lot to do with Neptune coming up against, again, labor, going through the womb, birthing in Aries. Neptune's not been in Aries since what, 1861. Okay. Saturn has not been in Aries since this is a new cycle of Saturn in 24 years. Yeah, seven times. Yes, 24 years. So imagine, just imagine, like there is something here calling to us, and we're being rebirthed. We are going to step into some sort of new earth when all of these energies have passed. And what I think where we are in the storyline is going to determine where we step. I don't think it's jumping to something. We're going to see it all the way through, but we're going to be at another level of information. Um, what that information is, at this point, we all gotta just watch and see. We don't know. But the shit's been real. And that is where I leave you. So remember that the new moon in Sagittarius is all about the desire within your heart and what you're called to do. And you have to really be the archer and like really focus on where you're aiming and what you're trying to throw before you release anything. Okay? Not because you are wrong, but because you're so strong that the potential you to put towards something, it really matters. You don't want to miss that mark. All right? And to sin is to miss the mark. Okay? Like that is literally what it means. So it's about re-stepping into alignment and allowing all of the clutter to kind of show you what you need to clean. All right? And with that, I want to see what you said. Oh, first house. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's been Aries, Leo, Aquarius, Moon. Okay. Aries, Sun, Leo's rising, Aquarius, Moon over here. It's been rocking. And I live with a Sag, double Taurus, and Taurus, Virgo, Pisces. So, like, emotions, earthiness, fire, and water. It's real. Okay. All the elements have shown up and this shit is rocking. But we're gonna be all right. Everything in this house is just gonna work out. But it's just there is this level of expectation that I have been like holding everyone in my reality to, I think, and everything in my reality to from a place of scrutiny and from a place of ego where I realized I had to let it go. There is this song that I'm going to tell you. It's called This Bitter Earth. And it's so beautiful. And it is a poem like song. And it's like a, a it's a collection of music. You can find it on, I'll link it in the description when I edit the video. But the words are, and if my life is like the dust that hides the glow of a rose, what good am I? Only heaven knows. And I think we should all think about like where have we hid the glow of someone else's rose with like our dust, our life, our ideas, our judgment, our shame, our guilt, our grief, where we've like covered another's ability to shine based on that idea, right? And that has been really sitting with me all week. So thank you guys for your support. Thanks for being there, being here and watching and everything. I'm going to make sure that this goes back out and is up on the YouTube channel for anyone who didn't get to see the whole thing. It has been great. Have a great, great Wednesday. We will